thought the future would be cooler. I thought the future would be cooler.
Welcome to Series 1, Episode 0 of Learning is the New Working, a brand new podcast series brought to you by the Learning Futures Group, where our goal is to help learning leaders build organizations and focused work cultures that help transform, innovate, and build trust with employees and customers. My name is Chris Pirrie. I'm the CEO of the Learning Futures Group and your host for what we hope will be a brilliant set of conversations with leading-edge practitioners in fields related to the future of workplace learning. We'll explore topics that we believe are critical to build a modern approach to learning and development in the face of profound changes in the workplace.
I thought the future would be cooler.
We'll cover topics including neuroscience, data science, software engineering, social science and design thinking, and a host of others. We believe this is really important work and we approach it with passion, curiosity, and a learning mindset. On the way, I'll be sitting down with academics, writers, thinkers, and edtech vendors and practitioners, including chief learning officers, who are all redefining the future of workplace learning. We'll learn a lot together, and I hope we'll have some fun, because while the future may be uncertain, it's our job to make work and the workplace much, much cooler.
I thought the future would be cooler.
In this first series, you'll hear conversations with people like Lisa K. Solomon, noted futurist, author, and designer-in-residence at the Stanford D School, Danny Johnson, co-founder and lead analyst at Red Thread Research, and learning and technology entrepreneurs Sam Herring and Ludo Farage. In this teaser episode, I'll reverse roles and I'm going to sit in the interviewee chair where I talk with Learning Futures Group Chief Scribe and technology journalist Gary Flood about our mission, our aspirations for the podcast series, and how we can help learning leaders prepare for a cooler future. This episode, and indeed the entire series, is brought to you by our friends at Intrepid Learning. Intrepid offer a collaborative learning platform that empowers organizations to solve high-stakes business challenges through engaging and applied learning at scale. Intrepid's approach helps individual learners improve and organizations transform and grow. Please check them out at intrepidlearning.com.
I thought the future would be cooler.
So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So Chris, why have you decided to set up the Learning Futures Group?
Well, we set up the Learning Futures Group about a quarter ago, Gary, after 108 quarters serving time in the software and corporate learning space. And as you know, Oracle, Microsoft, a lot of collaboration with companies like Deloitte. It's been, my sort of professional world has been around adult learning in the workplace, and sort of the intersection of technology and how people learn. The mission behind the Learning Futures Group is kind of an urgent one from my perspective. What I see is actually learning and development professionals really struggling to respond to an amplified concern around how we're going to help people build skills quickly and transform their careers quickly. Is something of a crisis, I think. And I wanted to explore that. I wanted to work with people who were tackling that challenge head on and doing some cool, edgy projects that might help people in the future be better at building a learning culture and better at being a learner. And I also wanted to dive a little bit deeper into some of the adjacent sort of practices and sciences that I think can help us take workplace learning to the next level.
What kind of products or services does Learning Futures Group plan to offer?
Well, it goes back to the mission. Like whatever it takes to accomplish the mission, which is really about helping the modern worker make sense of the workplace and prepare themselves for the tremendous change that's about to hit us all. people in organizations like Singularity University, a lot of thought leaders and business schools kind of working with. And this is kind of how is technology changing today's workplace, and is it changing it in a way that's different from the impact that technology's had on the workplace in the past?
Okay, 108 quarters. That sounds interesting, and I think it must have been. You must have learnt a lot in these kind of roles, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so fortunate. I don't want to be flippant about 108 quarters. You know, these environments are fairly intense environments, but just amazing places to learn. And I learned so much on along the way. And it just so happened that the focus of most of my work was learning. I spent a couple of years running the customer learning business at Oracle and helping people become DBAs, which was a much sought after skill, and actually had the effect of transforming people's lives. I met many, many people who were able to, move their career forward by studying and getting a credential around being an Oracle DBA, for example. And so I saw firsthand the sort of transformative powers of learning and study on people's lives. So that was super cool. Has always kept me interested. And then, of course, technology has been changing and allowing us to educate and learn in fundamentally different ways as the internet emerged, and as online collaboration emerged, and people got sort of wired together. Amazing things could happen in the learning space.
Isn't that problem solved, right? So I can buy any kind of e-learning module, right? I can deliver courses online 24/7 to a global workforce. So why is this a problem?
There's been a really fundamental breakthrough, I think, in the last few years around workplace learning, and it's actually it's not so much to do with technology; it's more to do with psychology. And we've, for the last 20 years, been looking at how can we share content and information in increasingly friction-free ways. And this is not confined, of course, to the internet. It's not confined to learning. It's entertainment and sharing of information. The internet's just radically changed how information can flow around the world. I mean, literally, anybody in the world who has an internet connection just has access to this unfathomably large body of knowledge and information. But that's only one piece of learning, right? Learning is really about acquiring new sets of knowledge, yes, but really developing new behaviors. And that's a much more complex and social and frankly hard thing to do. It's much more than just acquiring a piece of information. And that requires kind of new approaches and new methods that, yes, can be mediated and accelerated by technology, but it's more than just pushing content around the World Wide Web.
That's interesting. How does that kind of insight help you as a learner and business person? Do you kind of take your own medicine here, maybe?
Well, I really try to, Gary, and I think this was something that I personally sort of came across over the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years, and I realized that business, running a business every day, running a large team in a large corporation will consume 110% of your cycles and energy and time. And no, you can still learn. You're still learning new skills, developing habits and gathering knowledge and experience. That's all going on. But I think if you're not careful, you can lose time for reflection. And you can also, there's a lot of dialogue going on right now in human resource departments around the world around giving people permission to learn, because a lot of learning comes from failure. And particularly in a hard driving kind of enterprise space like the software industry, there's really not a lot of tolerance historically for screwing up and for failing. And but I think companies are now realizing that they need to develop a new culture around that. If they really want to have people who are effective learners, then they're going to allow them to make mistakes, obviously measured mistakes, and learn from those mistakes. So what I essentially did was I decided that I wanted to take time out from corporate life, and I wanted to try a new venture, and as a way to invest in myself and as a way to learn new skills. And so that's the journey that we're on. And I do believe, as I said before, that there is a real purpose and mission to this. I wouldn't do it if I didn't think it was important. And in essence, it says that in a world where the workplace is changing so radically, it's sort of incumbent on us to help people to respond to that and help them be successful in a world that's changing so quickly. And the one way that I know how to do that is to help them be great learners.
How can I be a great learner in a context where my phone pings every second, where there's always some amazing new Netflix show to watch, where I'm working lots of hours, I'm on the road traveling a lot, I have huge demands? Is maybe the 21st century the century we just kind of give up on this?
Well, I mean, this overload of information and this kind of always-on lifestyle that we all lead is definitely a fundamental shift in what it means to be a human, and definitely what it means to be a human at work. I think learning is a skill that people need to kind of work on and develop. And that's one of the things that I'm very interested in figuring out as part of the Learning Futures group, is working with neuroscience experts, working with social science experts, and working with technology to find ways to help individuals become more effective learners. So I don't know about you, but nobody's ever sat me down and told me how to be a great learner. And I think that's kind of something that we're really going to have to do for people in the future.
Do you think there's a generational aspect to the future of workplace learning? Do you see kind of the new entrants to the workforce having a different attitude? Are they kind of maybe less interested, more interested, differently interested?
Well, if you put yourself in the position of being a chief learning officer in a Fortune 1000 company, I bet you are thinking a lot about the expectations of the new generation of workers. At the end of the day, the human brain has been evolving over millennia, and how we learn, the hard work of paying attention and the hard work of creating new references and frameworks and the hard work of establishing new behaviors and skills and capabilities, I don't think that's changed. I don't think the human brain has changed much in the last 50 years or the last 20 years since the internet came along. But how we use it and how we apply it might be different. So, I'll just talk in the sphere of my kind of practice here. We used to spend a lot of time teaching people the right code by helping them memorize commands, right? That was an important thing. You needed to have mastery of a set of commands to make computer programs do things. That's all automated now. You really don't. The high value, the prompt, all those commands are in the prompt, and you can drag and drop code and procedures and collections of code and do incredible things. Now we can spend our learning time for software developers on higher order things like the architecture, or what does the human computer interface look like? So you get an assist from technology. It changes perhaps what you need to learn, but it doesn't change the fact that learning is hard.
Isn't the CEO of the average American company just interested in the bottom line, Chris? I asked the question because I believe you have worked with CEOs who you think have a different view.
Yeah, I mean, I get a lot of calls, and I hear from a lot of organizations who are starting to tune into this notion of building an effective learning culture in an organization. And